Hi everyone. Okay, so I'm going to do a little casual chatty review of The Djinn Waits 100 Years by Shubnum Khan. That's how you say her name. I finished this book yesterday and it was so good. My hair is a little bit crazy, sorry. Forget the hair. I was outside with my son earlier and it's windy because it's April in the Midwest. But Djinn Waits 100 Years. Sorry, distracted. It was recommended by, who was it recommended by? Maybe Chakraborty? One of the other authors that I follow. But she recommended it and said it destroyed her and it's super sad but great and amazing. Alright, sorry, I don't know why my phone just timed out. But I like sad books, that's what I read. The pie chart thingies for the monthly reading wrap-up things. Right now it's like all emotional. I'm having an emotional April reading month apparently. But it is blurbed as House of the Spirits meets Rebecca, based in South Africa, which drew me in. I read House of Spirits actually in high school. I had read way too many of the normal classics already. I was in AP literature, and you had to read one of the classics off the list and do a book report on it type thing. And I already read most, if not most, all the ones that I was interested in. I've always been a big reader, so I read most of them in middle school and high school already. And so my teacher picked out a side classic book for me that's not really a classic, but should be, which Isabel Allende is this prolific writer from South America. She's wrote so many novels that are more popular down there, and they're making their way up to the US, but they're really good. And so House of the Spirits is kind of a multi-generational story about this family in, I believe it's based in Mexico, but she's not from Mexico. She's from South America, but for some reason I feel like it was based in Mexico, but again, don't quote me on it because I haven't read it since, what would that have been, junior year of high school. I actually just got it in my Wordy Traveler book box, so I need to read it again. But anyways, it's a multi-generational story. It focuses on the relationships of all these people in this multi-generational house. So there's that aspect. And then also Rebecca is kind of, Rebecca's actually really old too. I first saw the movie before I realized it was a book. I had actually accidentally read a spin-off book of Rebecca. I didn't realize it was a spin-off until after I watched the movie and was like, oh, that's what Rebecca's tale means in this little blip of the book. But anyways, Rebecca is kind of like a haunted-ish house thing. You don't know the woman who's with the husband. You don't really know about her wife and about the history, and you know that she's not around anymore, and you don't really know what happens. And so in this book, it's set in South Africa, which I don't think I've ever read a book in South Africa, to tell you the truth. But it's set in South Africa, and it's based around Indian immigrants. So there's people that have immigrated to South Africa from India, and there's different religious people. They all end up in this home together, this old house. Wow, my lighting is doing weird stuff. It's cloudy out there, so I think it's trying to auto-adjust. But they are living in this really old house. It's not really a house, it's like a palace manor thing. It used to be one of those wealthy homes that they would have a servant's quarters and 3 guest rooms and all that stuff. But since then it's been turned into a tenement house. And so it's all Indian immigrants who live there, and they're all from different religions, and they all bicker and fight, and the whole premise is that these people have lost something, and they're all drawn to each other just by nature, that people are drawn to loss, and the sad people are always all sad together type thing. So it's a depressing book, but it's really good. The main character in the novel is I think she's 15-year-old, Yeah, she says, I remember in it, she says she'll be turning 16 soon. But she's a 15-year-old girl who her mom died at age 11, and so her dad's been trying to take care of her. But they were always like a quiet family. She's not very outgoing. She's always been kind of a loner, and so she is depressed because she doesn't really have any friends, and she didn't want to move to this house on the sea. She's afraid of water. And it goes back into it. I won't spoil too much. I don't think any of it's spoilers, but her mom didn't treat her very well. She didn't like her mom. Her dad took care of her, but they've never been all that close just because they're not a tight-knit family. And so they moved to this house, and she's just trying to investigate all these people, get their backstories, and it's sweet. She tries to make them all feel better and feel more loved and everything, because she just feels bad for them. There's 2 older women, and throughout the novel you learn more and more about their backstories, but in the beginning you learn there's 2 older women that she calls her aunties, but one of them specifically says, "Do not call me your auntie." She's like the sassy, crabby pants one, but she does try and help her here and there. And then there is they're like grandma age, and then there's one older woman, just because she's 15, who's like her dad's age. She's probably like 35 or 40 or whatever. And then there's one younger woman who's the maid. She's probably in her 20s, I think. And then there's the doctor, she calls him, and he's kind of he's the one who bought the house. He's the owner, and like the caretaker. He's not a doctor anymore. They just call him that because he used to be a doctor, but he is like grandpa age again. But they all live in this house together in their own apartments. And then there is a Djinn, like what it's about. The Djinn waits 100 years. There's a Djinn that's tied to this house as well, and so it's kind of like a haunted house story. I believe it's classified as like literary horror or something like that. It's not all that horror. Like I wasn't scared. There's a Djinn that's kind of like a haunted house aspect of it. And does like play tricks, and they sometimes see a ghostly woman around. But I wasn't scared ever. It was more just like the trauma of the ghost was keeping it. The trauma was keeping the Djinn there. And so it was really just a story about loss and trauma and how all these people find each other, and if they can find happiness or not at the end. If they can move on from the bad things in their life. I can't necessarily say that it ends happy or sad. There is resolution, like you feel like it's done. It's not one of those books where you like end and you're like, well, what? I don't know what to do. Like, it just doesn't end in a happy or a sad way. It's just, it has an ending, and we all move on. I like the way that the author went into each story. She made it very realistic and poignant. It's not like an exciting plot line. Like, there's a mystery that you're wondering what happened to the family. In the beginning, it talks about how the family left on the very first day and left. The Djinn was just sitting there waiting in the house because the family left, and you're wondering what happened, why they all left. But other than that, there's not really a plot line that goes by. It's just a study of these characters that all have gone through great sadness in their life and why they ended up at their house, and if they're able to have a happy life. Yeah. I didn't cry. It wasn't like a tearjerker sad. It just makes you feel. So if you want a book that makes you feel, I recommend it. I think it just came out in January too. Copyright 2024. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm going to be recommending it to people. It was a little bit of a different Djinn story. A lot of the Djinn stories you read these days are like magic powers, kind of like genies. But this one, the Djinn didn't really interact with anyone. It was just an entity, a spiritual entity that existed in this house. And the other humans could sense it, but it wasn't an interaction thing. So that was kind of cool too. A little bit different. which I have a feeling this is probably more like realistic to like folklore, you know what I mean? So yeah, let me know if any of you read it and if you enjoy it too. I hope so, because I'm going to be telling everybody to read it now, because I hope it gets the attention that some of the other Djinn books do, that were good, they were entertaining, but they were all plot, and this is more of the literary side that I think a lot of people could enjoy if they're more character-driven readers versus plot. So yeah, hope you like it. Bye.